Turning now to the White House, that's where President Trump is threatening even higher tariffs against China. Many consumers are reconsidering their spending right now, and some are rushing to stock up on goods they think will be impacted. Avajoy Burnett joins us live. And Avajoy, you spoke to experts on how consumers should respond to all this volatility we've been talking about. What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, one of the things we're hearing from experts, Andrew, is that consumers are really concerned now that these tariffs are an actual reality. And one of their main concerns is that we could start to see some bare shelves at the stores. But experts are saying this is not the time to rush out there and stock up on things, hoard items, much like we saw during the pandemic. And here's why.
Consumers on edge with new tariffs taking effect over the weekend, and more are coming.
I think it's going to make the price of everything go up, at least in the short run.
In a new survey, 57% of U.S. adults say they believe tariffs will hurt the average American.
Shoppers are still wrapping their heads around what categories are going to be impacted.
Stephanie Carls is a retail insights expert.
Consumers are way more cautious and they want to stretch their dollar.
Data showing Americans were already pulling back in some areas, even ahead of the latest tariffs announcement.
Luxury spending is starting to go down a little bit. We're seeing restaurant attendance is starting to go down. Those are the first signs of people starting to pinch the pennies.
Some, like billionaire businessman Mark Cuban, encouraging people to stock up on consumables before tariffs potentially bump up prices. But that might not be smart, according to supply chain expert Kimberly Reuter.
It creates a trickle effect because what it does is it artificially increases the price of the product, right? Because now it's in quote unquote high demand.
But in a survey taken before President Trump took office, 43% of consumers said they'd be more likely to stockpile goods ahead of future tariffs. Reuters says this time we can learn from past instances of stockpiling, like what we saw during the pandemic.
We created more of a crisis in COVID than really existed. What we learned is don't panic. Don't go out there and react to everything that's going on in the market.
Experts are saying, though, there could be an exception to this rule. The exception could be those big ticket items. For example, if you were planning on buying a car or even something like a washing machine, you may want to move up the timeline for that purchase to stay a step ahead of potential increases. Andrew.
All right, so the experts are saying don't go out and stockpile on some of these everyday goods. But did they talk to you about any other tips for saving money right now?
Yeah, well, one of the things they said is just kind of keep in mind that many of these retailers are trying to get people in the doors. They know that people are really price conscious right now. So they told us that consumers should be on the lookout for potential deals or even sign-on bonuses, something like that, where you are able to get in the door and get some of those sales before things actually go up. But they're still telling us to resist the urge of going out and stockpiling on many of those things, much like we saw several years ago during the pandemic, Andrew.
All right, Avajoy Burnett in our D.C. newsroom. Avajoy, thank you.